Well, hello there. I've come to talk to you today how I handle road safety when I'm out driving, or cycling for that matter, because we should all follow the same rules on the road. As I put up a video yesterday of some geezer tailgating me, let's talk about stopping distances and why it's not a very smart thing to do is to drive within the conditions available, to drive within your braking distance. Now that guy was behind me, about 6 to 8 meters I reckon he was behind me. As you can see from the road markings, there was one of the lengths of paint, and then there's a gap, and then another length of paint, and he was within 2 lengths. So that's a gap and a piece of paint. That's how far he was behind me. So that's maybe 2 car lengths behind. Now, going at 30 miles an hour, okay, we were doing 35 at the time, as I was, because I'd seen the 30 mile an hour speed limit up ahead, so I'd taken my foot off the accelerator, because you're not allowed to go through a 30 mile an hour speed limit more than 30 miles an hour. It's that simple. You're not allowed to do it. So anyway, I took my foot off the accelerator and coasted, allowed my engine to brake for me to get down to 30 miles an hour before I went through the sign. So for argument's sake, we'll call it 30 miles an hour. Now he was doing more than 30, so the braking distance would have been greater. But the braking distance at 30 miles an hour is, I'll do it in meters because meters is easier, is 23 meters. Now 23 meters might not sound a lot, but when you multiply it by feet, you're getting up into, over 60 feet. Now 60 feet might not sound a lot to you, but half of that is made up with your thinking distance, the time it takes you to react to something sudden in your path. So to do an emergency stop of those distances, he could not possibly have stopped within the distance available. Okay, new cars have got better brakes. I've driven new cars straight from the car rental place, and yeah, it's like a switch. They're either on or they're off. There's no gradual, how do you describe it? As you put your foot on the brake, there's no gradual braking anymore on these new cars. My car's is a few years older, and when I put my foot on the brake, it's a gradual thing. That obviously, if I stomp on my brakes, it will stand on its nose if I want to. But the modern cars are a bit sharp. They're either on or off, and I don't like that. I like to be able to put my foot on and just slow down a little bit. But yeah, so anyway. But the point being is that the guy behind me has to rely on my brakes not being so good to give him extra braking distance. Now, assuming that my brakes are as good as his brakes, and if a kid ran out in front of me, then I'd have to slam on my brakes. Well, I would do. As out of reaction, I would just stamp on my brakes and come to a stop. The guy behind me, before he'd even thought about putting his foot on the brakes, he would have been buried deep in my boot. And as we all know, when you're doing 30 miles an hour, that could be quite a heavy impact. Oh, I've got a bird in the garden. We'll talk about them in the next one. Yeah, so when you're out driving, drive to the conditions available. Keep your foot off the accelerator. When I'm driving, I hardly brake at all. I hardly put my foot on the brake. I can drive from here 8 miles into town and back again, and I only have to touch my brakes once or twice. That's because I keep a good braking distance between me and the car in front. Instead of braking every couple of seconds, like these people do that are tailgating, they're on and off the brakes. It's amazing. You see the brake lights, it's flashing. It's on and off like this, because they're constantly on and off the brakes. Whereas if the car in front puts its brake lights on, I just take my foot off the accelerator and slow down. If I have to, I might just touch the brakes a little bit to slow me down a bit more. And by the time that's all over, the car in front is gone again, and I can put my foot on the accelerator. So yeah, it's a much less stressful way of driving, and it saves your brakes, it saves wear and tear on the tyres and petrol, accelerating, decelerating all the time. It must use more fuel. So yeah, just drive sensibly, drive to the conditions that are available, and accidents won't happen. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Right, I'll see you all later. Bye.